welcome to the Sugar and Spikes podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and anyone ready to uplevel their career in their own damn way. I'm Des. I'm a life coach for women who get that having it all sometimes means having to balance the good and the bad, the sugar and the spikes, and all the in-between.
And I'm Tammy. I'm a therapist, and I'm all about helping as many people as possible to build awareness and make meaningful changes in their lives. I'm also dedicated to diversity and inclusion and increasing access to mental health care.
Between the two of us, we have 4 master's degrees and thousands of hours helping people develop balance, confidence, and clarity on their terms. So let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. I'm Des.
And I'm Tammy.
And today we have a really special guest that I'm so thrilled to have on, Kate Kerns, who is a WordPress developer. And I'm just going to kind of toss it over to her to introduce who she is and really what she does.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So like Des was saying, my name is Kate Kerns. I'm a web designer and developer, and I do specialize in WordPress. So I run my own business from home doing that. I've been working in WordPress since I was 15 and doing web design and development work for about that long as well. So I have quite a bit of experience there. I'm also a traveler, and then I consider myself to be a mental health advocate as well.
Hey everyone, so really quick, just wanted to jump in and say we did have some audio recording issues this week. Lost a little bit of the interview with Kate, so we're just going to jump right in. And if you have any questions about what she was saying or anything like that, all of the contact info for me and Tammy and Kate as well is going to be in the show notes. And yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Where I was actually, posting pretty much every day and getting some sponsorship interest as well, which was a lot less common than it is now. It was just kind of getting started then. So I've always been interested, I'm a writer first and foremost, have always been a writer. So I kind of got interested in web stuff to just be able to build my own websites and not have to outsource that because I was in high school. I had no money. And then also, like I said, it's in my family. My dad has a web development business and has been doing that as long as I can remember in some capacity, and then has been doing it full time for, I think, 12 years now. I don't really remember. And my aunt does the same thing. And so I had an easy into the business, being able to do contract work for both of them getting started. So I did that. I'm 24 now. When I was 21, I think was when I moved home and started doing some work contracting for them just to make some money. I was sick and not able to work outside the house. So just trying to make ends meet doing that. And then I took a break from it for about a year. And then I started up again, actually just this last December. So this is a really new business, and decided that I was going to not only just do contract work for them, but that I was going to try to make it out on my own and do my own clients.
Nice. So when you were kind of giving us your intro and everything, one thing that kind of caught our attention, like when you emailed to be on the podcast and stuff, was you're a mental health advocate.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Let's dive into that good stuff. Yeah, go for it. Take it away.
Yeah. So to start with that, I should probably start with my story. I have a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I've had symptoms, my entire life. I can't remember a time without it, and it really impacted my childhood. And then as I grew up, it, kind of shifted, as it kind of tends to make a shift, I think, in your late teens and early 20s. And I kind of shifted into some pretty serious symptoms. And I ended up between the ages of 20 and like 23 being hospitalized. I think close to 30 times in like a couple different states. And I spent a lot of time. I spent 8.5 months in a residential treatment program. And at one point when I was in that residential treatment program, the therapist I was working with there kind of sat me down and said, I don't know if it's realistic for you to expect a full recovery. I think that it might be realistic for you to, accept that you'll always have symptoms to some degree, and that you'll just have to manage them and live with that. And even in that really dark place that I was in, I was not happy with that assessment of my life. I always wanted help and I always wanted to get better, even though I was in the beginning, especially really, really difficult to work with. Yes. I mean, it took a lot of time, but I did end up getting to a place now where I'm really functional and successful and happy. I did a lot of therapy. I spent a lot of time doing DBT therapy, which stands for dialectical behavior therapy. And you guys could actually probably explain it better than I can. But for, for me, it had, it helped me deal with those really intense emotions that were leading to some pretty destructive behaviors.
So tell me how that kind of got, so let me back up for a second. So you've done a lot of work to kind of learn how to manage your symptoms and figuring out what you can and can't do in your life to kind of keep those symptoms in check, right? So that's a lot of work in itself. And I'm wondering how you've turned that into mental health advocacy. What kind of advocacy work do you do?
Yeah, so I generally have been just sharing my story with other people, trying to inspire other people and erase some of the stigma around mental illness. I had a blog for a while that talked specifically about mental health, and then I stopped running that about 9 months ago because it was turning out to be a lot of, I don't like to use the word triggering. I think it has a lot of connotations, but it was turning out to be really just difficult for me to revisit all that content all the time. And so actually the project that I'm working on right now is I live in Alaska and I'm going to be flying down into Seattle in early June and taking a kind of just open-ended trip across the United States. And my goal is to be interviewing suicide attempt survivors in all 50 states about what gives them hope now and what gave them hope to keep going when they were struggling most intensely. So that's probably the most formal advocacy work that I'm not doing right now, but I'm planning to be doing.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's really based in strength and all about hope, giving people hope.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I would have survived if I didn't have hope.
So how do you balance everything you need to do in a day to kind of keep yourself healthy and well and being an entrepreneur, which can sometimes be super stressful?
Yeah, I'm really good at checking in with myself. Actually, like 95% of what I do to manage my illness, besides medication, which I think is really important. But everything, most everything that I do is not, like I do try to get enough sleep and try to eat healthy, but most of it is talking myself through problems and asking myself, what do you need in this moment? Like what would, I think you guys talked about it in your last podcast, what would make me feel good right now, or not even feel good, like happy. I think you talked about this too, but what would make me like healthy and well in this moment?
Yeah.
Just constant checking in, which I think there's just, it goes back to mindfulness skills, right? Which is totally a part of DBT.
Yeah.
Is like you go through life functioning, but so often it's on autopilot and like super robotic, and it's bringing those mindfulness skills. And so then you're not just reacting to the world, you have a chance to actually respond to the world.
Exactly. And when I was going through that therapy, I really resisted the mindfulness part. And I was like, I don't need that. It's not important to me. And then it turns out to be like 90% of what I do is just checking in with myself.
Maybe it was just finding what fit for you,
Yeah. Well, it was, I think the way that people talked about mindfulness just didn't really sit well with me. Like I didn't like the idea of having to like sit calmly in like a meditative pose and think about what the room smells like. Like that was just not really something that vibed with me in any way.
So I know that that's super common for a lot of folks. I'm wondering, you mentioned like the checking in piece, but do you have a specific like quick go-to skill that you love to use that maybe folks who don't connect with the generalized mindfulness piece may appreciate?
Honestly, for me, it's just all about the self-talk. So it's not even so much things that I do externally, but it's just really about how I talk to myself and how I think through problems. I kind of consider myself at this point to be my own therapist or my own best friend, someone that I can really discuss issues with myself and come up with solutions that are healthy and good. So, I mean, it's just like an ongoing dialogue with myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense.
And one thing that we talked about beforehand was you started your business because, like, not necessarily because of, but one of the bigger influences was your diagnosis and kind of the situation that you were in. Can you tell us kind of about that piece of your story and taking control of your life in that way?
Yeah. So I had a lot of trouble maintaining what you might consider to be conventional employment because I was not doing well mentally, especially during the time that I was hospitalized. Like I said, I mean, 30 plus times in 3 years, you're not, you're not getting to work every day.
Right.
Or, really holding down a job. And so it was kind of something that I could do in the beginning that I could do from home. I could do it in the times that I felt well, and I could do it at a rate and pace that was comfortable for me. And so it's been less of an issue since I restarted it in the last 3 months because I've been doing really, really well. So I haven't needed to really accommodate for that illness any. But I do know that, I run my business on less than 30 hours a week. So definitely like part-time hours. And I can run my business any time of day or week that I'm feeling well. And then I can take breaks whenever I need. So in that way, I can kind of, even when I'm not doing well, there are usually pockets of time during the day or week that I can focus and get stuff done. So I can just really utilize those as opposed to, if those periods did not happen to show up during my 8-hour shift, then I wasn't putting as much into work as I could.
Yeah.
Or as I should be doing.
Well, I think it's a great point because I think a lot of times this idea of entrepreneurship is stress, go, 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 go. But I think you bring up a really good point that you can accommodate it to fit with what you need more flexibly than you could otherwise.
Yeah. So it's really about lifestyle design for me. So I started my business, a lot of people talk about needing to have your why when you start a business. And my why when I started my business didn't have anything to do with helping people. And that sounds horrible, but it really didn't. I mean, I did it because I wanted to have a lifestyle for myself that would work for me. And then, the aspect of I always wanted to help people, but the aspect of figuring out how that lifestyle helped me help people, that came second.
Well, and I think the whole idea of like your why needing to be associated with something bigger and more grandiose and being like connecting to helping others, like that's cool and all. But the thing is like, if your why is to help yourself, like you're a person,
right?
Like
I was thinking
put
that
yourself
too.
like first. Like, of course, like your why is to help somebody. It's to help you. And I think that so many people get hung up on I have to be altruistic and I have to speak to this part of my business and everything. And like, I joke around. I think I mentioned it on like the Badassery podcast where I was like, I mean, really, I started this because there were things I wanted to do that I wasn't going to be able to do anywhere else. Like it was a way to take care of me first, So I hear that piece for really starting it because of personal needs.
Well, and you have to be grounded in yourself, right? Yeah. Before you can go out and like focus on others, you have to be kind of well and stable and grounded and know what you need and be doing well, or else that's going to burn out super fast.
Exactly. It's like there's a saying that goes, you can't you can't give to somebody else. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the oxygen mask thing too. Like you have to take care of yourself first before you can help like the kid or someone else. So
yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Anything? Okay. Well, you mentioned your project that you're working on, traveling the states and stuff. I'm not sure if you're to a point yet, but do you have like a sign up page for folks to get in contact with you for that? Or should they just check you out online, like your basic homepage? Yeah, if you can give us specifics for that project and then just how folks can get in contact with you in general, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So The project, which I'm calling Coast to Hope, which is just a random name that I came up with, but I was like, it needs to have a name, so I gave it a name. Yes. And so that is actually housed on my personal website, which is lithiumandlace.com. So lithium is in the bipolar medication and lace is in the fabric. And if you go there, you'll see it right away. There's a big header that says Coast to Hope, and there's some information on the homepage as well as a page about it. So I have a donate button up because I'm allowing people, one goal with this is raising money for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Nice. Great.
So I'm raising some money, for some travel costs between the states, train fare, bus fare, whatever, but also raising the majority of funds to go to there. So there's a donate button on the homepage and a donate button on the separate page, as well as some more information. If you are listening to this from somewhere in America and you want to be interviewed, you can email me at kate@kernswebdevelopment.com. That's just my general email for anything work or advocacy related.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much for sharing some of your story and the passion behind what you do. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk with you guys later.
That wraps up this episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We'd also like to thank Forget the Whale for use of their song Move Along as our theme music. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and let the whole world know how good this shit is by leaving a review. It would mean so much. Also, don't forget to get your free stress layer training by going to DesireeW.com and clicking on Slay Your Stress. You'll also find a link to that in the show notes below. Till next time, and remember to stay unavailable for fuckery.